Let's get started. These are samples of the kinds of flowers that you can make with needle felting. This one has pointy leaves, and they're all finished with a backing that is a very simple little pin. You can get these at any craft store. You can sew them on. I think I've devised a way to make them look better than that, and I'll show you that at the end of the video. Okay. Now, first of all, I'd like to start with some equipment. This is a pad, it's a brush, and if you're going to use this sort of a pad to make your flowers, cover it with a piece of felt. Otherwise, they get stuck way down in the bristles, and that doesn't work very well. You might also want to use a foam pad. This works fine. And I also have a wool buddy. Happens to be my favorite, and that's what I'm going to use today. You can see it is much loved. So to begin, we're going to make a petal. Very simple process. You don't need too much wool, just a little bit. And what I like to do is take this happens to be Corriedale. I prefer Corriedale. MC1 works, roving works, almost anything you have works. I roll it over the top of my finger at least twice. This one's going to go 3 times. Place it down on my pad. And I start by needle felting up the middle because I pretty much want it to stay there. Don't tack too hard. You don't want to adhere it to the pad itself. So get this all tacked down. You want to use your pin to turn in some of these edges and make it any shape you want. You can make it rounded, you can make it pointed. You can put little divots in it. I'll show you that. Okay, once you get this side tacked down, turn it over, tack the other side. That's why you don't want it to adhere to your felt. You just want to do it lightly at this point. And I'm going to use the end of my needle to tuck in my shapes. One of the things that makes it look more flower-like, I'm going to twist this end here and I'm going to save that little bit of a tail to make it more a flower-shaped petal. You can bring your needle in, tack it in the middle so that looks a little more like a flower. Actually, a perfect way to make a little rose also. We'll get this all tacked down nicely. Gentle and easy. Turn it over. Now you're going to have to pull that off of there, and it's going to be out of shape again. So we'll, wherever it comes out of what we've already tacked, we'll just push that back in again. I prefer making these dry felted flowers to the wet felted. My friend and I made one, and we actually tried boiling it to see how it would felt after being made, and it didn't turn out so well. So you don't want to do that after. If you're going to wet felt from the beginning. We're both beginners, so we're trying different methods to see what works for us. Turn this over again. And there you have the first little petal. I have already pre-made a few of these so that the video isn't forever, but you would make approximately 5 when you're doing flowers, any kind of nature, actually, you want to use an odd number. They just look more natural when you use an odd number. So once you have 5 petals, and these will be yellow, I'm going to put them together, take our tail, tack it well, I've already cut these. If you like, you can cut those little tails out. Leave just enough so that you have plenty to tack onto this piece. And overlap it just a little. I want it to have kind of natural flower type look to it. So we'll overlap that. This is going to be very tight when you're finished with it. We don't want our flowers falling apart. Take the third one, overlap that in the same manner. Excuse me. I think you can tell I'm not a video maker. I'm new to needle felting, but I'm also new to video making. I'm just hoping that this works. I want to bring that, what's left of that little tail, back into the center. And the last one, and this one has a little tail on it as well. I'm going to cut that off. Make your center kind of tight, small. You want your petals to be able to stand up if you want them that way. So we'll get this all tacked down here. I think I'll just use the needle for this one. Keep moving my foam pad, sorry about that. All right, now I'm going to turn this over, cut this little tail off, about so, and tack it down nice and tightly. All right, now I've already pre-made an orange one as well, and we're just going to take the two. One should be a little smaller than the other. This, you can see, here's where my fuzzy ends are on this side. This side is better looking. Need to come up here a little bit. This side is better looking. This side has a little fuzzy end. I'm not going to worry about that, but I'm going to put that little fuzzy end on top. And you want to place your petals so that the second layer is in between the first layer. This also has 5 petals. And I'm going to put this guy on top of here. No, I think I like it better this way. Get this kind of centered. And really tack this part down. We want this all to stay together forever. Turn it over, do the other side. You also might want to notice that I have that needle point rather short. The reason for that is so that it doesn't adhere itself to my foam pad, or my, in this case, my wool buddy. You don't have to go to a lot of expense to do things like this. You can use any kind of styrofoam or foam that you have. Packing, people use packing materials. Okay, now if you would like your petals to curl up, you're going to take, let's curl this little yellow one up a little bit, and we're just going to tack it lightly along its back seam. You can do all of them, do one of them. Each creation is its own object. And then that'll turn the petals up a little and give you just a little distinct look to your petals. All right, looks good so far. Now we'll make a leaf. Helps if you can get your yarn out. Okay, here we go. So again, I like to mix the colors. This one I'm not going to mix the greens, but you want the leaf to be longer. The leaf has to show from the center outside the flower. So you're going to make a kind of a long leaf there. And we do it the same way. I'm going to tack the bottom. I want this all to stay where I put it. And I'm going to shape this into something of a point. All these furry ones at the end, you need to turn those back in and give it just a little twist. Turn it in. And then pull your point out by slanting your needle. You can curl the edges in. Just want a nice sharp line there that looks something like a leaf. These are fun to make. I've made quite a few of them, and they're very popular. This may be a very long leaf too. Turn this end up here so it isn't too long. Guess we don't want to see that either, do we? One nice thing about these little pads is that you can sit in a chair and just do this while you listen to music or busy with your children or something like that. Do keep your needles and your scissors and all the sharp things away from your little ones. My little ones are all very grown up now. They have little ones of their own, and those have little ones of their own. So we don't have any little babies around. I suppose these blank spots are kind of hard, but I haven't been needle felting for very long, about 6 or 7 months, and for all this time I've been doing the paintings. I've never done an animal myself or a critter of any kind. I really enjoy the wool painting. That's another thing. I do those often. My favorite medium is to put them on linen. I like needle felting on linen, but I also do them on art canvases. Linen does not work. You'll break every needle you try on a linen canvas. But if you buy the cotton canvases, which are less expensive, and you want to go in at a slant if you're working on a canvas, then you can put your pictures onto canvas. I kind of like the idea of doing them on pre-felt first and then mounting them, but whatever you like. All right, I'm going to peel that off of there. Take it down a little more here. I would make these leaves fairly tight. They'll be rubbing on your clothing, or if you put the flowers onto purses or backpacks, or even if you want to put them on your needle felts, the pieces that are loose and flying, you want to be fairly tight. All right, now we have one leaf here, and I pre-made a leaf here so that our video wouldn't be taking hours. And we're going to attach them to the back, this side. That looks about right. If you can, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. Maybe I need to be up here a little bit. Here and maybe here. It should make a nice looking pin. There are a number of embellishments that you can put on your flowers for the centers. This one is just a knot of color, little purple color, and there are some little tiny beads on here. The curly locks I think look nice on the leaves. This one is just folded over yarn, which is what I think we'll put on here. Anything that, you know, you might want to put a bead in there, or anything that suits your fancy. I'm going to go into my stash of scraps. And for some reason this this lavender color suits my purpose. Well, let's make this a little different. Let's make it a little bigger. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to take this, put it where you can see it, put it right under here, right in the center, get that on there. And roll over the edges. Just roll them in. And stay again in the center. This is where I'll probably stab myself. I've stabbed myself a million times. I think we all have, probably. And then I'll roll in this side here. Again, right into the center. Pull these little tails in here. Pull this big tail in here. Roll these edges in. You need to play with these. Just do whatever makes you happy. All right. we have a flower pin. Don't like these floppy leaves, so just turn them over and tack them to the petal that they're closest to. Want them to stay where they belong. I've tried different ways of making these stiffer. I've tried hairspray, which works fine, and I've also tried, I put that leaf on upside down. I did. I put that leaf on upside down. So let's fix it. Let's just roll it over here. Don't be afraid of anything that you want to try. Make this a little pointier. I like my leaves pointy. Only nature is really perfect. Tuck those corners in there. Another thing you might want to try is a spray starch. It just depends. I think they're fine the way they are. But of course, I have to always try something else. And there we have a flower pin in a relatively short amount of time. You can make them as large or as small as you like. On the back, as I was saying, let's use this one here. I don't like the way the string that I sewed the back on shows. So I'm going to take, again, out of my scrap bag, here's some tail that I probably cut off of that berry flower. And I'm just going to put this over here and tack it on right along that edge. Be careful, you don't want to break your needle on the pin itself. And just cover that hand sewn part. It just looks a little better, I think. Probably not necessary, but I think I'll be happier with that. Stick this out here. Just a few extra seconds to make it look a little more finished. Doesn't change the shape of the flower or the front of it. As I said, these pin backs are very inexpensive. I think you get about 50 of them for just a few dollars. You can get them at any craft store. Or you might find a better kind. They're not really well made. There we have that back, which I think looks much nicer. It still works. Puff up this. These have been sitting in my basket for quite a while. And there you have it. I think this one could probably use a little more embellishment. Might have to fuss with it. If you want to put color on your leaves, which we didn't do over here, we can do that with, again, scrap. just a little light green here. Anything to add interest. You may have noticed this little butterfly, which is not a very good butterfly, but it's another thing you can do using this same technique. I think I know my middle school grandchildren like to hang things off of their backpacks, and hearts, butterflies, anything, basketballs. You can do it all. And there we have it. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and happy needle felting.